Welcome to the Hypnotherapy Certification Program. I'm Elena Gabor, and I congratulate you for your interest in this field of study. We will begin our hypnotherapy training with history of hypnotism. And we're going to start with ancient history. The term hypnosis comes from the Greek word hypnos, which means sleep. Hypnos was the god of sleep in Greek mythology. The use of hypnosis as a therapeutic tool is ancient. As far as we can accurately trace back the history of man, we find records of the use of hypnosis for healing. Although hypnosis has been described under various names, it is as natural as man is. The use of hypnosis for healing can be traced back to 3000 BC in the times of ancient Egypt, where the earliest known hypnotic sessions were recorded on a stone stele. Egyptians, Greeks, and Romans had sleep temples where they used what we call today the hypnotic state. The sleep temples were found in ancient Egypt from 3000 to 1000 BC, in ancient Greece from 2000 to 500 BC, and in ancient Rome up to 300 BC. The Delphic oracle priestess Pythia connected in a trance state and channeled god Apollo. She gave voice to the prophecies. In the classical era, on the front of the Temple of Delphi, which was very prestigious, were written the dictums, "Know thyself, and you will know the universe and the gods," and "Nothing in excess." In 2800 BC, the father of Chinese medicine, Shennong, also called Yam Emperor, wrote about the techniques involving incantations and the passing of hands. Both the Old and the New Testament of the Bible refer to what could be deemed to be hypnosis and suggestions to people within a hypnotized state. Hypnosis is recorded throughout the ages and across many cultures. In 400 BC, Talmud, a book of Jewish law, describes hypnosis in a section called First Aid. History of hypnosis, medieval era, 1400s to 1800s. Geronimo Cardano, who lived between 1501 and 1576, was an Italian mathematician who performed and wrote about self-hypnosis. Paracelsus, who lived between 1493 and 1541, was a physician and mathematician who treated people with magnets. He believed that doctors should treat both mind and body. Mesmer era. Father Maximilian Hell, who lived between 1720 and 1792, was a Jesuit priest in Paris who healed people with magnets. Dr. Franz Anton Mesmer, who lived between 1734 and 1815, was a Viennese physician who used animal magnetism to cure people. At the time, bleeding was the standard medical treatment. It is in fact this person that lent his name to mesmerism. Mesmer grew up in a world that turned more and more to science. He had a great interest in astronomy and in the works of Maximilian Hell on the curative effects of magnets. From this interest, Mesmer developed a theory that when the ebb and flow within an organism becomes out of balance with the universal rhythm, mental imbalances or nervous illnesses could result. Mesmer believed that this imbalance could be corrected with magnets. He spent 16 years at universities and was awarded 2 doctorates, one in medicine and one in philosophy. Using a mixture of conventional medical methods and the use of magnets, Mesmer drew himself a lot of attention in Vienna. He soon obtained a number of remarkable cures and listed in his first published report cures for epilepsy, hysteria, melancholia, and fitful fever. Mesmer published a letter in which he asserted that magnets only acted as conductor for the force or fluid that influenced the patients. Mesmer believed that the hypnotic effect was caused by what he called animal magnetism, and this magnetism he thought was an invisible magnetic fluid that came from living bodies. He was referring probably to what we call today the electromagnetic field of the body and the energy that flows through it called chi energy. Mesmer also thought that this fluid could be transmitted to certain inanimate objects, such as a large tub filled with water and iron fillings, or even certain trees. Mesmer saw animal magnetism as something that could be harnessed and stored in the same way that today we store electricity in a car battery. Mesmer had many spectacular cures using his hypnotic techniques. In 1782, Mesmer and his associates founded the Society of Harmony. The society that Mesmer founded was such a great success that soon other societies of harmony were operating in other French provinces and abroad. During this time, many important discoveries were being made by many of the members. The hostility that they received from orthodox medicine continued during this time, although Mesmer and his partner Deslon were campaigning for investigations into the methods that they were using. They were trying to show that those methods were an acceptable form of therapy that actually worked. After Mesmer's death, Professor Jean de Luz demonstrated and utilized post-hypnotic suggestions. Father Gossner was a Catholic priest and contemporary of Mesmer. He was one of the first to create a calm trance state versus the convulsive states typical of Mesmer's methods. Marquise Chastenet de Puy-Ségur, a student of Mesmer, is credited with being the first to induce somnambulism, walking sleep-like state, and to apply hypnotic techniques to diagnose diseases. Abe Jose Custodi de Faria, during the 1800s, was the first to assert that trance induction required the subject's consent and declared that expectation and physiological aptitudes were critical to trance inducement. John Elliotson, who lived between 1791 and 1868, was a physician at the London University Hospital and outraged the establishment with his success at eliminating pain during major surgical operations and apparent cures through direct suggestions. Charles Lafontaine, who lived between 1803 and 1892, was an early Swiss mesmerist and became the first stage hypnotist. He did hypnoanesthesia and the only other anesthesia at the time was liquor. He staged demonstrations of animal magnetism in Manchester in 1841 and influenced surgeon James Braid to pursue the study of what came to be known as hypnotism. Dr. James Braid, who lived between 1795 and 1860, was a Scottish surgeon and researcher. He coined the term hypnosis and hypnotism in 1842 from the Greek word hypnos, for sleep. By 1843, he realized the word was incorrect and tried to change it to neurohypnology, but hypnosis was already in popular use. He invented the hypnodisc, pendulum, and metronome. Dr. James S. Dale, who lived between 1808 and 1859, a Scottish surgeon, used hypnosis for several thousand minor and approximately 300 major surgeries in India for hypnoanesthesia, including for amputations. Pain-free surgery dramatically reduced the death rate. Then ether and chloroform started to be used for anesthesia. Period of suggestion. Nancy School. Dr. Auguste Ambroise Liebold, who lived between 1823 and 1904, was a French country doctor who is honored as the true father of hypnosis because he recognized and demonstrated that suggestions alone, even without eye fatigue, was all that was necessary to produce trance. Together with Dr. Hippolyte Bernheim, who lived between 1840 and 1919, founded the School of Nancy, the first institution to base therapeutic use of hypnosis on scientific principles. They performed 10,000 inductions with 85% success rate. They used intensified suggestibility. Dr. Jean-Martin Charcot, who lived between 1825 and 1893, was a French neurologist and professor of anatomical pathology who used hypnosis to treat hysteria and other abnormal mental conditions. He is known as the founder of modern neurology. He named and was the first to describe multiple sclerosis. Dr. Joseph Breuer, who lived between 1842 and 1925, was an Austrian physician whose work laid the foundation of psychoanalysis. He discovered that unconscious, unresolved experiences are the root causes of conscious symptoms, and that once the unconscious memory is remained conscious, the symptom disappears. This discovery transformed the effectiveness of therapy and hypnosis. He was a close friend, mentor, and collaborator with Sigmund Freud. Émile Coué de la Chantegnerie, who lived between 1857 and 1926, was the French psychologist and pharmacist who introduced a popular method of psychotherapy and self-improvement based on optimistic suggestions. He studied under Ambroise Auguste Liebold and Hippolyte Bernheim, two leading experts of hypnosis. Émile Coué's method implied the applications of his mantra-like conscious autosuggestion. Every day, in every way, I'm getting better and better. This is called Couéism or the Coué method. The Kwe method centers on a routine repetition of this particular expression according to a specified ritual in a given physical state and in the absence of any sort of allied mental imagery at the beginning and at the end of the day. Unlike a common held belief that a strong conscious will constitutes the best path to success, Kwe maintained that curing some of our troubles requires a change in our unconscious thought, which can only be achieved by using our imagination. Although stressing that he was not primarily a healer, but one who taught others to heal themselves, Kwe claimed to have effected organic changes through autosuggestions. Dr. Sigmund Freud, who lived between 1856 and 1939, was an Austrian neurologist who became known as the father of psychoanalysis. He became disillusioned that many patients were unresponsive to his authoritarian techniques. He concluded that since his authoritarian methods didn't work, hypnosis didn't work. He was such an intellectual giant of his time that he practically single-handedly destroyed the field of hypnosis, claiming that psychoanalysis had rightfully taken over the inferior method of hypnosis. But recent scientific studies show the opposite. A comparative study conducted by Alfred Berrios, PhD, published in Psychotherapy Magazine, Volume 7, Number 1, showed that using psychoanalysis, 38% recovery was obtained after 600 sessions, and using hypnotherapy, 93% recovery was obtained after only 6 sessions. It took First World War to create conditions for the re-emergence of hypnosis. The demand for treatment of large number of injuries and the shortage of psychotherapists forced the medical community to turn to hypnosis for the treatment of war-related trauma illnesses. During wars, World War I and World War II, hypnosis was used for surgery. Modern era of hypnotism. Dr. John G. Watkins, PhD, who lived between 1913 and 2012, a United States psychologist, described his success using hypnosis to rapidly heal war trauma. His books renewed interest in hypnosis. With his wife Helen, he developed ego state therapy. R.M. Linder, an American psychologist, coined the term hypnoanalysis in 1944 to describe his work combining hypnoanalysis and hypnosis. L.R. Walbert promoted the use of hypnoanalysis in his book Medical Hypnosis to Treat Compulsive Disorders. Bernard G. Gindes coined the term hypnosynthesis in 1951 in his book New Concepts of Hypnosis, describing his approach of first accessing repressed material and then integrating change comprehensively throughout the personality. The 1930s was a time of anti-hypnotism. Svengali movie, a horror movie, and others portrayed inaccurate and distorted views of hypnotism, which led to an unfounded public fear related to the use of hypnosis. Dave Ellman, who lived between 1900s and 1967, advanced the use of hypnosis in the medical and dental field by training thousands of dentists and doctors throughout the US. He created rapid inductions and demystified the phenomenon of hypnotic trance, making its use less intimidating and more friendly. Dr. Milton Erickson, who lived between 1902 and 1980, was an American psychiatrist and father of modern hypnosis. He pioneered indirect suggestions and had a huge impact on all therapeutic philosophy and really single-handedly created a new respectability for hypnotherapy. This was due to his respected position as a psychiatrist and to his phenomenal genius in the creation of innovative approaches to the use of hypnosis as a therapeutic tool capable of creating rapid healing and psychic reorganizations in clients. As a result of his work, both American Medical Association and the American Psychiatric Association had endorsed hypnosis by 1958. The following entities recognized hypnosis as a medical therapy. In 1955, British Medical Association. In 1958, American Medical Association. In 1987, it rescinded all AMA policies from 1881 to 1958, and as a result, the AMA now has no official position on the use of hypnosis. 1996 National Institute of Health. Erickson behavior procedures with clients form the foundation of the discipline called neuro-linguistic programming. Walter Sickert in the 1960s defined trance depth. Leslie Lickran, a clinical psychologist, made hypnosis accessible to the layman in 1964 with his book Self-Hypnotism. He furthered the use of idiomotor responses to communicate with the subconscious. Ernst Hilgard, who lived between 1904 and 2001, was an American psychologist and professor at Stanford University. He became famous in the 1950s for his research on hypnosis, especially with regard to pain control. Along with Andre Müller-Weizenhofer, Hilgard developed the Stanford Hypnotic Suggestibility Scales. Hilgard is specifically known for his theory of the hidden observer, demonstrating how this hidden entity is part of our consciousness. He defined hypnosis in terms of dissociation. John Grinder and Richard Bandler founded NLP in the late 1960s and developed an explosion of good works which continue today. Dr. Raymond Moody, born in 1944, an American medical doctor and psychologist, described and coined in 1975 in his book Life After Life, the phenomenon of near-death experiences. From a study of 150 people who had clinically died or almost died, Moody concluded that there are 9 experiences common to most people who have had near-death experiences. Hearing sound such as buzzing, a feeling of peace and painlessness, having an out-of-body experience, a feeling of traveling through a tunnel, a feeling of rising into the heavens, seeing people, often dead relatives, meeting a spiritual being such as God, seeing a review of one's life, feeling a reluctance to return to life. These experiences are identical with the ones people have in hypnosis at the end of past life regression therapy and during life between lives regression or interlife exploration hypnosis. Psychiatrist Brian Weiss introduced in 1985 to the large public the benefits of past life regression therapy through his bestseller Many Lives, Many Masters and his other books. The topic of healing through past life regression therapy is described by many authors, including Dr. Bruce Goldberg, the author of Soul Healing, Canadian psychiatrists Joel Wheaton and Joe Fisher in their book Life Between Life, as well as psychologist Michael Newton in his books Journey of Souls and Destiny of Souls, describe the journey souls take after physical death through life between lives regression or interlife exploration hypnosis. Michael Newton, who lived between 1951 and 2016, was an American psychologist and a pioneer in uncovering the mysteries about life after death through the use of spiritual hypnotic regression. He promoted and advanced the field of life between lives hypnotherapy. It is widely accepted that hypnosis is an excellent method by which people can access their inner potential and achieve positive transformations in their lives.